Hey, it's Jamie, and welcome to a selects edition of Eventual Millionaire. This is where we go back and find the best of the best, the ones that you loved from the past 6-7 years. We've been doing this a long time, and there's some amazing interviews with amazing guests that you have not seen yet. So we are bringing them back. It is the selects edition. Let us know what you think, and I hope you enjoy.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to the Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jamie Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I'm Jamie Masters, and today on the show we have Justin Krane. You can check out his site at cashflowgift.com. He's a money strategist, and we're going to talk all about cash flow, so make sure you check out that site. Thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm like a long-time listener, first-time caller. Can I say that?
I'm so happy you did. Yes.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Tell me more about what the heck a money strategist is.
You know, I invented the term. There is no secret to this. Like, where do you go for money advice on your business?
Seriously, it's ridiculous.
It's like this black hole. Because what I found is like there's bookkeepers. They do like the data entry and they get your reports ready to go. And then they somehow like either send it to you and you're like, oh, what do I make of this? What do I do with it? Or maybe they send it to your accountant. And then like you really want to throw up in a brown paper bag when you're dealing with your accountant, right? And then you do your taxes, but you're like, what does this mean? How should I make decisions? And so I just fell into doing this because I found a need and I just ran with it.
1,000 times we need this, because that's the other thing too. As a business coach, people ask me about that stuff, and my mentor, there is nobody that really hones in on this stuff. We used to recommend some lady that just sort of had that background and knew about this stuff, and we'd send our clients over there because she knew it to like the nth degree, because there's a very big wide range of what making decisions about your money means. So what's typical of what you do with clients?
First we'll decide and we'll look at like, what's your business model? Like, how do you make money? That's the first thing. And I'm sure you hit that, right? And then from there,
you better know what that is, right?
Yeah. And then from there, I take a look at, does a business have scale and leverage? Like, can they get, if they invested $5, can they make 10 in their business? And can they grow it exponentially without putting in exponential effort? So we'll look at that. We'll look at the foundation. And that's about as deep as I go on those two. But if you don't have that set up, the right business model that works for you and scale and leverage, you're going to be trading hours for dollars. Your income is going to be capped. You're going to have no time. You're going to lose all your hair, drink 92 cups of coffee, and want to throw up in a brown paper bag. You're just not going to want to do it.
And unfortunately, there's people listening going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
So what do they do if that's the case?
I think in the beginning, you got to really understand what is it that you're selling. And one of the most important things that I talk about is pricing. And pricing is such an important thing because the way that the brain works and the way that the brain buys things is it's not logical. It's all emotion. And I've read gobs of stuff. My favorite guy is Dan Ariely, who wrote the book Predictably Irrational. And he does these studies about why people buy things, and it's cray-cray. It's wild. So one of the first things that I do working with business owners is if they have one product or one service, I want them to create a separate offer that's just a little bit better, that allows them to stack some bonuses and make the buyer feel like they're getting a killer deal.
Okay, tell us more about that, because for the people that haven't read that book yet, why does that matter?
All right. So let's pretend that you check into a hotel and the garden view room is $200, but the beach view room is $225, and you get a glass of champagne and you get free valet. Wouldn't you buy that for $225? But so many people have one price for $200. The way that the brain works is the brain compares things. The brain likes to put things in context. So why can't we have two offers of kind of the same thing and stack the bonuses, and the conversions will go up? So many people just have one price or one product, and I want them to start, I want them to have more than one. So if you have one product, you've got to create a second. But really where I'm going with this is packaging and bundling.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, you have to make your offer seem really attractive to the buyer. Let's pretend that I was actually just working with someone yesterday and she makes quilts. Like, do I know anything about quilts? Nothing. Am I afraid of needlepoint? Yes. I have nothing about quilts. But she sells a quilt for $45 and then a quilt with like a baby blanket for like 60. And I'm like, no, sell the quilt and the baby blanket for $47. Sell the quilt for $45.
Okay, tell me more.
Who wouldn't want to buy the other one for $2 more?
Yeah, but
for
then her margins go down. So tell me more about that.
Okay, but the cost to make the baby blanket was $2. So she breaks even on that extra $2. But what happens is more people buy, period, because they're seeing two offers.
Okay, so it's about them wanting to buy the quilt to begin with because it seems like such an amazing deal.
The quilt and the baby blanket.
Yes.
So what you guys got to do is write down all of your stuff that you sell and try to package it in a way that will make people buy the better offer.
Okay, so what about the difference between the 2 versus 3? Because some people are like, you want to tier it and you want them to pick the middle offer. So how does that work?
Exactly. You do. Because it's a podcast, I got to go a little slower.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. Continue.
You want to have 2, and you want your first offer to be a decoy so that people are like, oh, I want the middle one. And then your third offer, you want to have it like crazy high premium. So because the brain will not compare $50 to $1,000. The brain will compare 50 to 45. But what most people have, Jamie, is they have an offer for $500, $1,000, and $1,500, and there's no deal. The brain doesn't see the deal.
Yep.
So what I teach people is right away, you have to have different prices, and then you have to track where the sales are coming from. Are they coming from offer 1, offer 2, or offer 3? And that falls on. Now I'm about to go into the financial mumbo jumbo land. I'm warning everyone, so you have to have a glass of wine immediately.
Wait, you should have warned me. I would have had one.
I know.
Go ahead.
It's on your profit and loss statement under income. So you just create 3 lines. It could be product A or service B or whatever it is. And then you can just start tracking and seeing where the money's coming from.
Wait a minute, that sounds too simple. No, I get it though. That makes so much sense. It's so funny how we think that it has to be this big complicated process and it doesn't.
Yeah, and the thing is that I have a feeling that there are a lot of people that kind of hide when it comes to money. Like if I don't know what's going on, I can't see it. It's not a problem. It's not my fault. But your money, if you don't deal with your money is going to deal with you. So let's get aware. Today I'm declaring is National Get Your Head Out of the Sand Day. Like, come on, guys. We got to get our head out of the sand.
Okay. Yes.
And we got to start tracking.
Okay.
So let's track the stuff that we're selling. And let's sell more of the stuff that is selling.
And then when you look in your bank account, you'll be excited instead of not so excited, because that's the point. Okay, so give us some tips on this, because I just last week I had somebody go, I heard that I should have 3 things. These are my 3 things. Give me feedback. And I was like, why would I pick any of the, like, I just was in the mind of the buyer and I'm like, I don't understand why I would pick anything. What's the difference? And so how do they actually come up with, okay, this is a decoy, this is the main thing, and then this is the price anchor?
Well, you always want to have your core offering, and it's also about, well, what do people need, and what do they really need to buy? And if you're not even sure about that, then just go to like Amazon and see what people are buying in addition to that core thing. So if you're a service-based business owner and you're an accountant, go look up accounting books and then go see, well, what other books did people buy and what could I bundle with it?
That's really interesting. Oh.
Yeah, or if you're a product person and you sell candles, well, people probably buy matches with a candle. Like, check this out. I wrote a blog post on this. I was like, oh my God, they are so smart. I'm in the grocery store. I'm in like Ralph's. It's like Kroger out in California. And I'm buying chips. And I go to look for these chips. And there are ping pong balls right by the chips.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, I need ping pong balls. Like, guys buy ping pong balls when they buy chips. They got me.
In my head, I'm like,
there.
Why would people buy? Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
They do. So that's what you got to do. And then you got to stack that. You got to stack your main offer.
Okay. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this seems so worth it. I need all of those things. And it's such a crazy deal. My brain just wants to buy it right now.
Yeah. And then you probably would buy dip with the chips. I mean, that's why the dip is right there. So you got to think of it. Now, let me just take the pricing to one more extreme.
Okay.
You have to make sure that your offer is clear and understandable, if that's a word, to the buyer. If your offer is a bunch of gobbledygook and it's on a web page and it looks like Mandarin Chinese, people are going to bail and they're not going to buy it. So the display of the offer is huge. It is a game changer. So I'm talking about those check marks that you see on offers, like A, B, C, the check marks.
Yep.
That's what you need. Because I can show you like heat maps of people scrolling up and down websites of like, what do I get with this? And these are like Fortune 100 companies where their pricing is ridiculous. So
like, they would make so much more money. They should hire me right now. So what about people like service-based? I have a lot of agencies and stuff as clients. Either they have to do proposals or they literally have so many different types of services, and trying to figure out like what package versus what person needs or what company needs, what can get really confusing. So what do you suggest for them?
You have to have systems and bundles and packages. You can't keep creating customized stuff. Otherwise, you're going to freak out.
So what happens? So how do we do that, I guess, is the question. So let's say we're like, okay, we need to make bundles because that's what Justin told us to do. How do I make sure that this bundle doesn't confuse everybody with all the other 17,000 things that they could get?
Because what you want to do is when you're displaying your pricing with what people get, you want to show them about 4 to 6 things that they'll get.
Okay.
You don't want to have a list of 92 things with 4 million check marks.
Yes. Okay. This is my point. Because sometimes they're like, we're going to do SEO, but we're going to do it every 3 weeks. And then we're going to do it every 2 weeks. And then we're going to do it every, I'm like, geez, right?
You got to keep it like major simple.
Okay.
Because the confused mind just will not buy. Now, by the way, I got into this, like I'm a CFP, I'm a financial advisor. Like I got into this because I started looking at my clients' books. I'm like, you have one offer. Like you got to have more than one offer. And this is what's going to make your conversions go higher and your sales go higher. Now I'm planting a seed, people. If you're still here, like literally your head is out. I don't know, maybe it's still in the sand. We're going to talk about profits. I'm going there because you could make sales, but you need money in the bank. Like I need cash money in your bank account.
Yes. I define a millionaire from net worth. So you have to keep it. I don't care about 7-figure businesses. I want
Correct.
people actually having money. So
yes.
How do we keep, let's transition. What a great segue.
Yeah.
How do we transition
Awesome.
into profit and making sure that all the packages that we have are actually making the money?
Well, number one, there's a lot of people who say pay yourself first, like David Bach. Mike Michalowicz is profit first. I mean, there's all these kind of people. And that concept is exactly what you need to do. But the thing is that it sounds good and they're right, but everyone's business is a little bit different. And that's where people might think, oh, that won't work for me. Or, I can't really do it that way. So the way that I like to do it is we need to make at the minimum a 10% profit off of your sales. So you bring in $100,000, I need $10,000 in your bank account. So I need $10,000 off of your bank account, from your bank account. That's the bottom line. So what that means is you have $90,000 to spend in your business. Now, this is where people get tripped up. They take money out to live. They invest in the wrong things. They buy expensive, bright, shiny object stuff that it ain't worth like nothing. It's cray-cray. So first of all, you got to know what your sales are. And then you just take 10% of the sales. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy, people.
Okay. So do you have them, is that automated where, I normally do about this much every month and that just sort of automatically comes out and it's a thing?
Yes.
Okay. Question. So this is where I think, like you said, a lot of entrepreneurs get tripped up because they're like, I don't want to spend more money on taxes. So I'm going to invest and spend a whole bunch of money in my business.
Yes.
Okay, tell us more.
I love that question. Okay, I'm leaning into the camera. This is one of those lean in ones. People, pay your taxes, make your profits. You're done. Don't invest in a $7,000 MacBook computer so you can write it off and make no money in profits and not pay taxes. Hello, you will never get ahead if your business isn't profitable and you aren't paying taxes.
Okay, wait, I just got a new MacBook Pro, but I am profitable, but I just got a new MacBook Pro, but okay, good.
But don't look for an excuse.
Yes.
Don't look for an excuse to buy stuff in your business so that you'll have a write-off. Like, it's still money.
that's what's so funny. I'm like, it's not like it's free money, people. I don't know
Yeah.
what to tell you. You should save it. But I feel like especially newer entrepreneurs are so scared, maybe like you said, their head is in the sand on money and taxes in general, that they're like, oh well, if I just do this, it'll make it better and I get free shiny things. And the MacBook Pro is totally not worth it, just so you know. I'm annoyed as all heck by it. Nobody get it.
Oh, I remember that post that you made on that. You were looking. I remember that. Yeah.
No, I'm mad. So tip number 1, don't buy a MacBook Pro and save the money. Yay, you'll be better off than I am. Okay, so tell us more about what we do after we take at least 10%, like you said. And hopefully hopefully our profit margins are better, but it, like you said, depends on what business. How do we decide what we're investing versus what expenses, and how big should they be? Like, there's so many questions when it comes to the growth of a business.
Yes. So what you also need to know is, just going off of that 100,000 to 10 grand example, how much money do you need to take out of the business to live? Like, do you got to take out 40 grand a year, 60 grand a year, 30 grand a year? So you got to know what your personal nut is. Because that way you're like, okay, so let's just pretend that my personal nut is 40 grand. So now I have 100 and the profit is 10, and I'm going to set aside some money for taxes. And then I got to take money out of my business to live. Now I'm left with, I'm just coming up with a hypothetical, $40,000. Now we're looking at 40 grand. We're like, where should I invest it? What should I do? What is good? What is not good? So what I see a lot of people doing is, I'll go with this one, is they're jumping into the deep end of the pool. And what they really should be doing is putting on their money floaties and getting in the shallow end of the pool.
Okay, I like that.
So
tell me more.
People, you need to get your money floaties on. What do I mean by that?
Buy money floaties. That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm going to try to trademark that. So if anyone's listening, please do not do that. So here's the deal. We all think we have to be like Richard Branson or Oprah or some big risk taker and all that. Like, I got news for you people. If you take a big risk you take that 40 grand and do one thing with it and it doesn't work, you are, now I'm going to give you a technical term. It's a financial term. It's called Kaputnixville. You will be Kaputniksville because you will have no more money, and you're going to be operating in fear. I want you to operate in prosperity mode, believing in that you can create and manifest the financial life that you want. So how do you do that? You take small risks. You take risks that are one-time risks that are small. You get your money floaties on, you dip your toe in the water on the shallow end of the pool, and you go from there.
Okay, so what is relative? Like, what's a small one-time risk if you have $100,000 a year?
So let me give you an example. A bigger risk would be going to a trade show, where let's say the trade show fee is $1,000, an airline ticket's $500, the hotel's $500. You got to get marketing collateral. You have to hire an assistant to go with you. Next thing you know, you're into it for $4 grand. That might be big for you. So what you could do instead is you could go to a networking breakfast and sponsor that for $300. That's one time.
That makes sense.
Versus, that's one time for $300 versus $400 or $4,000.
So how do we know what to test versus what not to test? Do we actually take money into it? Because what if we're like, okay, we did the research and this trade show is what really does really well for other people that are in my same industry and niche and that sort of thing, and the breakfasts sort of don't, and they feel like they have to take a risk.
Okay. By the way, I'm all about taking risks. In the beginning, take smaller risks. Okay. It will help your cash flow. But here is a metric that I use that will really help people make decisions with their investing.
Okay.
3 times your money. If you don't think you can make 3 times your money, then don't do it. Now, where did I get that? I made it up. I completely made it up and pulled it out of my you-know-what.
Okay.
Yeah, I made it up. But you know what? It's good because you'll think twice about, like, do I think I can make 12 grand off of that trade show? Or do I think I could make, 3 times my money? And then if you don't, you'll be like, you know what? I'm going to keep the money in the bank because cash is king sometimes.
Seriously, okay, so that's the other piece. Cash is king, and it can make you feel safe. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, about safety and how much money we have in the bank and what feels good. So that way we can make better business decisions. Because, like you said, when you're operating from fear, I feel like all hell breaks loose. We let the emotions make our decisions instead of being, our good business owner hat. So when we're going down that path and we're looking at our cash flow, sometimes it can get really tight. What do we do when it gets tighter? Like we
Yes.
can't even squeeze out that trade show and we're like, oh gosh, I
Yes.
feel like I should, but I can't.
Yes. Okay. So what a great question. So the deal is if you're a new business owner and you're just starting out, if you don't think you can make 3 times your money within 5 weeks, again, I made that up, completely made that up. Don't do it, because the credit card bill is going to come. And if, let's say, you go to that trade show and you're like, okay, I got to go fly there, I got to meet people, then I got to follow up with them. It's going to take 3 more months for me to have that sales conversation that I really have to have. You don't have the time for that. I'm sorry, you don't. But if you think you can do it within 5 weeks, then go for it. If you're a seasoned business owner and you got cash flow and it's all good, then you can hire a publicist and not have an ROI on it for a year. It just depends on where you are. So
No, I was just going to be excited about the fact that you gave us rules to go by, because it works that way. Our brains will try and solve the solution. And if we don't have anything to go by, we're like, I think this is a good idea. Go.
Yes. And then, so how do you build cash? Because I do believe that business owners need to have an emergency fund. And so the reason why you need to build cash is so that you can sleep at night and so that you can say no to all of the BS that you're saying yes to because you need the money. I want people to say no all the time. Now, I'm not a Debbie Downer, Donnie Downer, or whatever. Like, I want you to say yes. But the more times you say no to the BS, you'll get closer to the yes where you think you can make 3 times your money. And then you'll be operating from a point of strength. Like, I got this. Like, the money's
Justin,
there.
We love you. Okay. Yes.
Yes. So I want you to say no, because that will open up the yeses for when it feels good. It will help you build the cash. And then how do you really build the cash? By the 3 times rate of return. I can't tell you how many times people have not, it's everything that we do. We hire consultants. It doesn't work. We do a new website. We don't think we can do it. Now, I'm not talking about getting office space. There's no ROI attached to office space. I'm talking about like running ads or flying to a conference or maybe doing a joint venture with someone. But this 3 times is huge. It's like it grounds you.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like people have a spray and pray sort of model in marketing, and they're literally going, well, I'm going to test it because we're told to test, right? So I'm going to test this, and I'm going to test this, and I'm going to test this, and I'm going to test this. And then we're so sort of strung out that we don't actually get metrics or ROI, and we're like, we think that worked. We think something in that mess worked. And then they come back and they go, oh, okay, great. I don't know what it was. So moving forward makes it really difficult.
Yes, I agree.
So tracking, do you suggest people do it one thing at a time?
No, you can do 2 or 3. I mean, let's say you've got $1,000, you can try 3 things for $100 and see. And then, whenever you make a sale, if you could just do it old school, like, hey, how'd you hear about me? Where'd you find me? Right? Or you can do the whole, if you're an online business, you can do, I'm not an internet techie guy, but like you can do the pixel route and you can do tracking with affiliates and all that stuff. But if you start to get nauseous with the tracking, that's okay. Let's just get you an Alka-Seltzer, maybe a glass of wine or your favorite cup of coffee, and let's delegate it to someone who loves that stuff.
So
because if you're a
yeah, no, go ahead.
Because if you're a creative, you're going to just get nauseous with this stuff and you're going to check out and you'll be like, I'm done. But the only way that you can grow and ascend is if you do something different and take control and take ownership of your financial life and delegate some of the stuff that that you just have to do, but someone else can do it for you. And then they'll just email you, like they can email you your profits. Your assistant can tell you what your sales are. If you're just like free, like if I just say the word QuickBooks, like is your hair standing on your arm, or Zero, the accounting? So, like, are you literally like, do you want to just like get under the covers and curl up into a fetal position and just be done? That's okay. But someone out there loves that stuff. By the way, I'm not a bookkeeper, so don't even. I don't even know how to do data entry on that.
So, well, that's the thing. I love numbers. I especially love great numbers. When you look at,
Yeah.
people don't like it when they don't when the numbers don't look good. They don't like looking at it, right? But either way, whether they're good or they're bad, you need to know what they are, people, just so we're clear. So how much of an emergency fund in business? Because, I mean, I even wrote my book and I did Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover way back when to pay off a bunch of debt. And he talks about the personal emergency fund. I agree with you 1,000%. We should totally have a business emergency fund, but how much, and do we ever pull from it, and what is an emergency in business, and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, emergency fund at least 1 month.
Okay.
1 month of your business expenses. So then that means, I know what everyone listening is like, what are my business expenses? And you're like, who killed Kennedy and who shot JR and like all that, right? Like you're like, go to like, what? So we got to find that out. We can't guess. We got to call the bookkeeper, the accountant. We got to find someone who can get us that number. And then what you begin to do is build it. You can build it with that 10% profit that you leave in the business, and then you have it there. So what's an emergency? An emergency is something, I don't know, where you know that it's going to work and you need to invest it and you're going to tie up the money for a week or two. Like it's pretty much a sure thing. Any other business emergency, maybe a late payment that you forgot, maybe a credit card bill that you forgot. Another one that came about was like if you have employees, sometimes you got to pay like sick pay and overtime or something like that. So that's another example.
Yeah, a lot of like unexpected, oh crap.
Yeah.
But the whole point is too, if you don't hit your goals or your sales dips or whatever, it's there just in case something horrible and you don't have the cash flow for it, which makes perfect sense. So tell me a little bit, and I know this is boring, but I think it's really important for people to know, because when you're doing quarterly taxes, people are like, do I take whatever 1/3 out when I get the check here and we put it aside in a savings, or do we just know that we plan for it, we take this much out? How do you suggest people do that?
Okay, the easiest way is simply to call your accountant and give them your profit and loss report from last year and say, oh, I think I'm going to, be up 10% or something like that. Now, if you're just starting out and you're new and you don't have a big set of books and you don't even like want to deal with the profit and loss, just take, I'd say ballpark. Now, this is just general advice, 20% of your sales and put it in a separate account.
Great.
So the 10% is for the profit. The 20% is now kept in a separate account for taxes. So how do you pay them? You could pay them quarterly. You could keep until the end of the year and pay at the end of the year, but I would not recommend that you do that, because what you'll do is you'll sneak into that account like at 2 a.m. when no one's looking, like it's a chocolate chip cookie, and you'll move that money into the other account.
Buy that MacBook Pro.
Let me just go in there and move the tax money over there. I'm going to go to Hawaii and eat all the fish I can.
That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah. So you got to have a system to do it. And I think 20% is a decent number. But like what 6- and 7-figure businesses do, I mean, I do this. I'm with my, so this is 2017. This is like the first half of January. I've already had my, don't laugh, people, I'm crazy with this, my Q1 2017 tax payment call. I know you want to like throw up hearing that. But again, I love it. You don't have to. Email the accountant and make them do the work.
Oh, yes, that's right. My guy's always like, okay, well, I've got another every other Monday. No, it's every Monday per month. I love him, thank goodness, because we chat and we blah, blah, and then we talk about money. And don't get me wrong, I love talking about money. But I wouldn't remember to, oh, great, I have to schedule him all the time, unless it was already in the calendar and I go, oh, I have to show up. Way easier than having to go, I should call my accountant. So having a regularly set time, really, really important. Okay, so tell me about this though, because a lot of people, especially when it comes to hiring, we go, do we have enough money? Do we not have enough money? How much do we pay them? Like, where does that come in as you're trying to grow your business? And how much do you have enough, especially for that first assistant or the third employee, something like that?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my spin on it. And most of the time when people hire Jamie, they're hiring an admin, right? To free up their time.
Yes.
So let's pretend I'm a jack of all trades and I do everything. I'm VP of sales, purchasing, VP of human resources, right? VP of everything. And I know that I need to delegate. So if I'm going to take $1,000 and delegate it and pay the VA, right? The VA, it's not like it's on the VA. It's not like it's her or his responsibility to make 3 times the money. They're just filing and going on the CRM database management and scheduling your this and doing your social media, whatever it is. If it's a VA task, whose responsibility is it really to make $3,000 off the 1,000? Yeah, it's us. So it's on us. So we need to make $3,000 off the 1,000. If we can't, then it's our fault. But if you're hiring an ad agency and you're going to do $1,000, then it's on them. So I believe, that I just think we should be hiring and delegating pretty much from the start. And it's okay to delegate 1 hour a month to someone if you're just starting. And if you're at 5 hours and, sometimes you need to take that step, but it doesn't have to go from 5 hours a month to 20. It could be to 7. There's nothing wrong with taking small steps along the way.
Yeah, because your confidence grows in your leadership as a leader in general, and also you get better at delegating and all that other stuff that you have to learn as a business owner, which you might suck at the beginning. Just so we all are clear. So it's good for you to kind of go slow and warm that up too. So what if you have 3 employees and you're not doing the main basis of the work, but you're looking to hire number 4, and maybe it's $60,000 a year for this person, and you're like, okay, well, I need to make 3 times, but I'm already giving all my stuff away. So we're trying to how do you figure that piece out?
Well, sometimes it's hard to make 3 times, but sometimes the business needs it. Like I was just working with one of my private clients where she needs to do content marketing, and she has enough money to pay someone, I don't know, $50,000 a year to just do the content marketing. But she might not make 150 right away. Maybe it'll take 2 or 3 years. But here's what I told her, and here's what I do believe, is that the profits need to catch up with the $50,000 spend. So this is a hypothetical. If her profits were $300,000 and then she spent 50 for content marketing, in a all like even world, she would just make 250. But what has to happen is the following year, or at some point soon, the profits need to go back from 250 to 300 so she could make that next investment and hopefully still make the ROI on the content manager. What people do is they make 4 or 5 huge investments and the profits don't catch up. And then it's like, wait, I was doing great, and now I'm waiting for all this to hit, and it hasn't.
Okay, so that's a huge point, because especially content marketing, SEO, they're like, it takes 6 months to a year before it actually ranks more and blah, 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 all that stuff. And you're literally going like this and hoping whatever the strategy is or whatever the hire is going to help us with the profits. Because we're good at predicting, but you can't predict the future. So we're trying to make this strategy and assume growth. And what I see with entrepreneurs is they're like, and next year I'm going to double. Oh shoot, we didn't double. And I did my investments as if we were going to double, and then it didn't work out so well. Ouch. And then we get in a cash flow crunch, and then you're like, oh crap, and then you can't sleep. So what do we do to prevent that when we feel like we really need that content manager and the profits look okay that year?
You got to go for it. If the business needs it, you got to go for it. Like if you need to be on social media and you haven't, and you know that the business needs it, and you want to hire and delegate someone to do that, then you have to set up an expectation up front with who you're hiring and establish clearly defined goals and targets that they need to get for you. Just like with the SEO, you could track the hits to your website within a week or 2 and start seeing some improvement. So a lot of times people hire, marketing people, agencies, consultants, and they bomb.
I have had that happen before. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, there goes like, $20,000. That was awesome.
It's like a rite of passage. They bomb. And that's where you've really got to get referrals, references. Maybe you got to have that person take the Colby test to see, are they, I'm sure you know about Colby, right? Yep. And your people probably do. Are they a fact finder follow through, or are they creative quick start?
What I'm a fact
finder.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a massive fact finder follow through. But I surround myself with creatives. I got creatives that are in my own group that I mentor. They're all creative women business owners that ready, fire, aim, and not ready, aim, fire, So I digress, but it's the point of is you need to just track this stuff along the way. And if you don't feel like it's working, you got to cut it off and be like, sorry, I got to take care of myself first.
But
If
that's
it's not working.
the point that we talked about in the beginning is that if when the foundation is up and you actually know your numbers, it's easier to know if this was a good idea or if it wasn't, or if it's working or if it's technically not working. Instead, most people come from the, oh crap, I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to make decisions based on that. So I'm a fact finder also. What a surprise, right? I get data from a bazillion millionaires. To me, I care about data a lot to make decisions. But a lot of entrepreneurs aren't like that. They're quick start. I'm a quick start. But they're not fact finders. So therefore, data is just one of the extra things along the way. So setting up the systems like you were saying this entire time, so that way you can get banged over the head with that. Extremely important, people. Okay, perfect. So we've gone through a lot, which I really appreciate. I know we have to start wrapping up in just a minute. But before we do that, what do you think people should do when they're making these decisions if they don't feel like they have the data, or if they don't have I feel like we just try and grasp at straws for deciding on marketing tactics or hiring an agency. I think this is going to work. I'm not totally sure. How do we figure out and actually make the right decision in our business based on cash flow and without knowing the data?
It's harder to. It's a guess.
We don't want
Jamie,
to guess. That's the thing.
I think it's a guess. I think, what happens most of the time is people make guesses based on unknown numbers. And, sometimes I like to just feel the energy of when I hear or when I say, you got to know your numbers. Because to me, that puts all of the onus on the business owner that they have to know their numbers. And what I believe is you got to have access to people that can help you know your numbers or tell you what your numbers are. And then it's not a guess. Then it's a real informed decision. And then it's like, okay, I got like my book, Money, You Got This. I got this. I know my numbers. I can get them and I can make a better informed decision about it. Otherwise, it's guessing. And, yes, we can have luck, but like, you got to know some of this stuff and you got to have people that can get that info for you.
Yeah, because we can't most likely, even if it's digging through the data. Not that you want to do that, but it's in regards to that, I think it's really important. But like you said, so do you suggest not guessing?
Yes, I suggest not guessing, and then I suggest another thing is this comes up a lot when I work with people is once they know their numbers, they're going to have to make some really hard decisions. Like they might have to, being that they're spending too much in their business, their prices aren't high enough, they're taking too much money out of their business. They're going to have to make some very, very tough choices, like letting an employee go, or maybe doubling up on one investment and then not doing another investment. And they're going to have to get uncomfortable and make some change. That's probably part of the reason why people don't want to know, because then if they knew, they'd be like, okay, now I really have to make a decision. It's not my fault. So for the people who are like, oh my God, I know I got to do this. Like, yeah, it's okay. But you're going to be faced with some tough decisions and you can do it. You really can.
Funny how emotional all of this stuff is as we're talking about,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
It's like you assume that, well, money are just data and numbers and that sort of thing. And it brings up all sorts of stuff. Oh, wait, if I don't look at it, then I'm okay. Right? Yeah. And getting over some. Is there any books or recommendations for people to get over some of that stuff that you recommend?
There's some guys that are really, really good if you Google them that can help you with it. So it's really about money scripts. It's the stories that we keep repeating over and over in our mind that we learn from our parents or by someone that we keep repeating. Like someone might think that they always have to be a caretaker, right? And they'll take care of everyone else but themselves. Or someone might think in their mind that money is the root of all evil, so that whenever they bring in the money, they just want to spend it because they feel that they don't deserve it. So I know a guy by the name of Brad and Ted Klontz, Klontz. They've got books on it. Rick Kahler, Rick Kahler. These are money psychology guys. And then my mentor, I don't know if he has a book, but he's mentored me on this because when I work with people, this stuff comes up. Like I just am aware of it, right? And you want me to give you his name for the notes?
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim Got First. It's spelled Gott. F is in Frank, URCHT.
I love that you gave us this because I haven't heard of any of these people, which I think is amazing. Because usually you're like, oh, it's David Buck, it's so and so, and I feel like yours, I'm assuming, will go into much more detail on the psychology side.
Major
business owners are smart, and they need the high level stuff that will make a difference in their business. Okay, so I love that. I love talking about money. Maybe that's sort of why I have a show called Eventual Millionaire. But we have to start wrapping up. So what is one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of $1 million?
I think the action is making a decision that you need clarity. You need clarity. And what is one thing that you can do to get clearer on your numbers? Is it making that phone call to the bookkeeper? Is it calling the accountant for your taxes? Is it looking at your sales and seeing what's doing well? Take one action all around the word clarity, because when you're clearer, you'll be more informed, you'll make better decisions, and you'll feel good about it.
Which is what everybody wants in life. They want to feel good at talking about this stuff. Awesome. So where can we find out more about you, what you have to offer, all that fun stuff?
Yeah. So as people are listening, you're probably like, oh my God, there's so much stuff. I'm overwhelmed. And that's okay. Like, you can be stressed. There's no problem about that. But I've created a guide that people can go to download and then work on what we just discussed, like in bite-sized chunks. Like literally, you can have a glass of wine and do this. So go to cashflowgift.com. One word, cashflowgift.com.
Thank you for making it bite-sized and easy for us, because yes, we need to be spoon-fed, but eventually the medicine will help.
Yes, thank you.
So
it's
much,
great to
Justin.
be here.
So amazing to have you on. I hope you have a fantastic day.
You too.
If you enjoy this show, I would really appreciate your wonderful words of feedback. Go leave me a review. I would love a rating, whatever you can do in the time that you've got. I would so appreciate it.